Hey, do you want to snipe like this? Yo, what's up guys, Wreck here. Welcome back to a new Black Ops Cold War video. Now, I get asked almost every single day about my settings, controller settings, DS4 Windows, and all that good stuff. So I figured I want to take this time to actually go over some of my DS4 Windows settings because a lot of people have asked me on stream about them. Now, just to be clear, this is not a controller overclocking video. There are tons of videos on that already. I'm just going to show you my personal settings and as well as some other tips and tricks that you might not have enabled in DS4 Windows that might help your performance or your controller latency. So yeah, let's get right into it. First things first, you want to make sure you have the right DS4 Windows. I've seen people make this mistake before. You should have DS4 Windows by Ryochan 7. The current version is 3.0.18. You can actually click the site right here, and this is the actual site that you can download now for the official DS4 Windows that's like actually kept up to date. It's even open source. You would basically just download the 64-bit version because most people are probably running 64-bit. Get the zip file, install everything, and you're chilling. And of course, this will be linked in the description. Alright, so I'll get into my controller buttons and sensitivities, but make sure you stick around because I have a couple little tips that might help with system performance and latency that'll also make a controller feel better. Alright, so in game, a lot of you guys probably already know that I use max sensitivity with a 1.17 high zoom. A lot of that's personal preference, but if you want to copy it, go ahead, be my guest. And then like most pro players nowadays, I shoot with the top triggers. There's a little bit of delay when it comes to shooting with the bottom triggers. If you're from Xbox, you probably shoot from the bottom. If you're like me, you came from PS3, you'll probably shoot with the top. But a lot of the pro players in the CDL and really good players that are YouTubers and stuff like that, they've already made the switch to shooting with the top trigger. So if you're not doing that already, you're kind of falling behind. And now for everything else in terms of aim response curve and all that stuff, I play it on standard, but I actually changed my aim response curves within DS4 Windows. So that's what we're going to get right into. And then of course, you guys probably already should be using this. Precision is probably the best aim assist mode for sniping, but hey, personal preference, choose what you like. But yeah, most good snipers are using precision because it's just the best one. Alright, so now let's get into some of the controller binds that I use. A lot of people, if you don't have paddles and don't play claw, you should really be using R3 to either jump or slide. Once again, don't got paddles, don't play claw, you should be using R3, which is when you press in on the right analog stick to either jump or slide. So within the controls of DS4 Windows, you can actually rebind almost any button on your controller to any other button. So right here on R3, by default, it is R3, right? But I actually change it to X, which is cross, because I want to jump with R3. So now if we go into the game, when I press R3, it jumps. So yeah, that is my jump button. Now, funny enough, there actually is a button layout in the settings that actually does exactly what I just showed, but it changes your X to melee, and I don't like that, so I just do it in DS4 Windows. But yeah, stick and move is the setting in the button layout, and quite a few pro players actually do use that. So yeah, but yeah, I do highly recommend that you make your R3 either a jump or a slide. Most really good pro players that don't have paddles or play claw actually do that. So yeah, you should be doing it. Otherwise, you're kind of falling behind. Now, one thing that I do that's really bizarre, but I mostly do it on Vanguard, but I've been using it on Cold War here and there. I actually rebind my R2 to circle. Yes, what does that mean? I can't throw nades. Who gives a crap? All right, I don't throw them anyways. I'm going for sniping clips. But notice how I can jump with R3 and then I could slide with R2, and I can't lie, it's pretty fire. You maintain full control of both your analog sticks while you are sliding and jumping. You don't have to remove your thumb off the analog stick at all, which is hella useful, and it will improve your gameplay once you do get used to it, but it does take some getting used to. But once you're used to it, man, oh my goodness. So yeah, that's just some things to consider. Everything else is basically as it should be. Down D-pad, X, square, triangle, all that good stuff. And then on your touchpads, you should actually click them and make them unbound so that they don't interfere with anything. They'll still work to like hit it to type and chat and stuff like that, but yeah, unbind and then you're chilling. All right, so now with the dead zones, as you can see in game, I actually have 0 dead zone set. Yeah, why do I have that at 0? And why am I not getting stick drift? Why is it not like doing this? It should be doing that if it's at 0. And that is because I actually do all of my dead zone settings right in here in DS4 Windows itself. So let's just get right into it. All right, so here in Axis Config, these are your dead zones. This is LS, which means left stick. This is your sprinting stick. This one doesn't really matter unless you got a bad dead zone and it's sprinting by itself. This one you want to keep it basically as as low as possible because you want your sprint to be as responsive as it can be. So output controls, DeadZone type radio, I think those are standard. And DeadZone, I put it all the way down to 0. And max zone, I max it out all the way up to 1. Keep the anti-dead zone at 0, and I put the max output all the way maxed out at 1. You basically just want this as sensitive as possible because the moment that you touch your sprint button, you'll want it to actually sprint, all right? And if you got a little bit of dead zone and it's kind of moving by itself, then you can add a little bit of dead zone to it if you need to. But yeah, keep it as low as you can go. And then mostly everything else for the left stick is standard output curve linear. I don't even know what half these other things are, but I don't play with them and they feel great. So now we're moving on to the one that really matters, which is your right stick. This is the one that you look around with. This is the one that you're aiming with. So your right stick dead zone is going to vary because everyone has different controllers. If your controller is brand new, you might get away with like 0.05 dead zone. I can't do that because I've had this controller for a couple months, so I need a 0.08 dead zone. So right here at 0.07, I don't have any stick drift, but if I go to 0.06, there's a very good chance that the moment I click apply, I'm going to try to play the game, and when I look around, I might just get a couple stick drifts. So let's see. All right, so notice how after moving around for a little bit, I'm not touching my controller, but my guy is slowly moving around. That is some stick drifts. If I was one more 0.0 decimal point up, I wouldn't have any stick drifts with my dead zone. But at 0.06, I start to see dead zone. And that's how I know, all right, if I'm getting dead zone at 0.06 in my right stick, I know that I cannot use 0.06. So I will go back up to 0.07. Apply and save, and then I will check right here. Let's move around a little bit. Do I have any stick drift? None whatsoever. I can mess around with it, I can let it go, and there's no stick drift. It's just doing what it is. So I know for my controller, my maximum or minimum dead zone is 0.07 or 0.08. So yeah. And now for the rest of the stuff, I put my max zone at max 1.0, and then I messed around with my anti-dead zone just seeing what feels fun, and that felt all right to me when I put the anti-dead zone at 0.10. I don't recommend that you go messing around with it unless you're just gonna like play with different numbers and see what feels good. I just tried it and it felt good. I hit a good clip and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna keep it. I hit a 6 on. You know what I mean? And yeah, everything else is standard at 1.0. But here is what I was talking about earlier with the output curve. You know how in Warzone Modern Warfare, a lot of pro players and pro streamers were using dynamic output curve? This is essentially the equivalent of dynamic, but in DS4 Windows. So yeah, with output curves, there's a bunch of different ones. There's standard, linear, reverse S curve, and all that stuff. This is by far my favorite enhanced precision. You can actually choose linear and you can choose like the basic ones, but I choose enhanced precision. It's essentially the same comparison as to the reason why people use dynamic on Modern Warfare and Warzone. It's essentially the best comparison I can make to it. So give it a try. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. If you're already comfortable with something, then just go ahead and keep using that. You can just keep that on default or whatever it was. And yeah, after that, I don't touch any other settings under it until we get to L2 and R2. Now here's the thing, you really don't have to mess with these. If you use them for stuns and nades like I do, then I mean, it's not like you really need to care too much about having dead zone on your stuns and nades. It's nice if you don't want to accidentally click them. You can have the like a little bit of extra dead zone so that you don't accidentally throw a nade like I sometimes do. But if you're shooting with these triggers, if you're shooting with L2 and R2, then you want to copy these settings. You want no dead zone, max zone, anti-dead zone all the way max output all the way max, sensitivity all the way at 10, because remember, if you're shooting with the bottom triggers, you want them essentially like hair triggers. The moment you press them, they're as responsive, low latency as it gets. You press them and it registers that you're aiming and shooting. And then now just a couple of bonus tips within DS4 Windows. If you play wired with an overclock, then you don't have to worry about this. If you play with Bluetooth, it is recommended that you go to the light bar and put the color all the way down. Notice how you can have color on it, but that kind of drains the battery. So if you have no color on it, it's just gonna look black like that, and it keeps your battery. And then if you wanna know when your battery's low, you can put flash at, I have mine at 10%. And then when my battery gets at 10% or lower, my guy will flash red, and then I know to put it on the charger. So yeah, there you go. Under the touchpad, you don't have to worry about any of that. As long as those aren't assigned, you should be chilling. Under gyro, as long as you just keep all that unbound, I don't think you'll have any issues. And then under other, make sure that you're emulating DualShock 4 controller. I know some of the recent updates of DS4 Windows, they had it buggy and then they took it out, and then the newest one they put it back in. So make sure that your emulated controller is DualShock 4 if you're using PS4, PS5 controller. That way you get the lowest latency and the best input response. So yeah, make sure you're emulating DualShock 4. The only reason you would want to emulate Xbox 360 is certain Windows games won't recognize a PS4 controller, so you'd have to emulate that it's an Xbox controller in order to use it with certain Windows games. But most newer titles don't have that issue, so make sure you're emulating DualShock 4 controller, and make sure this is not checked, because otherwise your controller will not work. And then other than that, I don't think I've touched any of this except for enabling output data to DS4. I think you need that. And then lastly, you should have 1000 hertz, 1 millisecond, or max 1 millisecond, same thing as your DS4 BT pull rate. And then other than that, I think you are pretty much set, chilling, and good to go in terms of your DS4 Windows settings. What the what is the first 5 kills ever on this map? Oh my god. What the fuck? That was the most like little boy nuke. I just died off it. Oh my god, dude. Holy dude. I was so scared at the end. Oh, kill him.
As soon as I got 1 kill, it's fucked.
360 knots. Oh my god, it was so close. Oh my god, those were headshots, by the way. Holy shit, dude. Oh my god.
Kowalski, analysis.
I'm here to remind you that you are 100% in fact
a bitch who hits ugly clips. Bro, just unscope. It'll look so much better, I swear to god. Just unscope at the very. It'll look so much better, I swear. Trapping out of dope, niggas trying to